Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to do something fun, which is going over my summer reading list. The first book on our list is Le Grand Monde by Alain Fournier, which in English is called The Lost Estate. This is going to be a reread for me. I read this many years ago as a teenager, and I just started rereading it. I think it's a good summer book because even though it doesn't start in the summer, it starts in the winter. There's a lot of references to seasons and beautiful descriptions of spring and summer and that feeling that school is out and you can go to the river and swim. This is the story of a teenage boy and his friendship with another boy who has a pretty traumatic past because he lost a younger sibling. The way the story is told, there's just so many descriptions of these subtleties and these defining moments in the friendship that bond these two boys, and it's just beautifully written. So I'm reading this in French, but you can read it in English as The Lost Estate, okay? The next book on our list is A Girl Returned by Donatella Di Pietrantonio. This is a fairly recent release. It was actually originally published in 2017. It's translated fiction, so it was originally published in Italian and then translated. It's a beautiful, heart-wrenching story. It's the story of this young teenage girl who was basically raised by a mom and dad that she identified as mom and dad, but come to find out they are not her biological parents. And so something happens where they have to return her to her biological family. And so she finds herself dropped off with these people that she has never met before, and everything in this family is so different from what she's used to. She was used to a more comfortable life, a more peaceful life, where she just went to school, did her homework, and then sometimes would go hang out with her friend on the weekends and things like that. But all of a sudden, she's in a family that's very poor. The dad is physically abusive. She has to share a room with one sister and several brothers, and it's just much messier, and she feels less safe there. There's also a lot of anger and sadness about what happened with her original family because she's been cut off from the original family that she was used to. So this book, if you ever read Foster by Claire Keegan, this book definitely reminded me of that book. But I would say the author's voice is so unique in this that it really blew me away. She has a unique style where here and there she'll pull out of the present moment and zoom out and kind of tell you how things are now. So you get kind of like the voice of the narrator of the story, who's the adult version of this child, and then she goes back into the story again. That's pretty unique. And also I like that her style is very tactile. Like everything she describes, you feel the temperature in the room, you feel the smells. She also talks a lot about mixed emotions, which I think is difficult to do sometimes because it's easier to just say, oh, I was angry or I was happy. But she really gives you a sense of this feeling of you love somebody, but at the same time, you feel some resentment. And so, yes, I would say she's a master of describing complex emotions. And ultimately, this is going to be a contender for my favorite book of the entire year because it's already June, and so far I think this is my favorite. So now the reason why I'm putting this on my summer list is because even though it goes through different seasons, I think the scenes that describe summer and going to the beach in Italy, eating ice cream, It gives you a very summery feelings. So I think it would be a great read for the summer. Now, the next book on this summer list is A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. I've been saving this for the summer. This is supposedly the story of a young woman who travels to Florence, Italy, and ends up meeting a young man there. I've read other books by E.M. Forster so far. I've read Maurice, which is about the struggles of being gay in 1913 in England, which is kind of crazy because the book was not even published while he was alive because there was such a stigma. But that was excellent. And then I read Where Angels Fear to Tread, which was a well-written book, but I would kind of caution readers depending on your sensitivities, because if you don't like books where there's cruelty to children or animals, then you might not like how that one goes. And then I also have A Passage to India on my TBR, but I was thinking for the summer, this would probably be a good one to read. So I'll put it on my pile. The next one I have on this list is The Go-Between by L.P. Hartley. It's supposed to be a good summer book because it takes place in the summer. And it talks about a teenage boy who is acting as a messenger between two lovers. So I can't wait to get into this one because everyone who's reviewed this has praised it very highly. So hopefully I'll like this one as well. The next summer book I have on this list is Claire of the Sea Light by Edwidge Danticat. So Edwidge Danticat is an author from Haiti, and I read one of her other books. It's called The Dew Breaker, which I also recommend. And I have her short stories on my shelf, but I saw this one and I couldn't resist. Something about this cover of the little girl on the beach made me feel like, okay, this might be a good summer read. Apparently, it's the story of this 7-year-old girl whose father is a fisherman in Haiti. Something happens where there's a tidal wave with some catastrophic consequences. And so this is describing the aftermath of these events. But I just thought it would be a good summer read. And Edwidge Danticat is such a skilled writer. In The Dew Breaker, she tells the story of this man who kind of has a hidden past. And he has a scar on his face, and you don't find out how it all happened until the very last chapter. It's kind of like a flashback to what originally happened in Haiti and what he was up to. And I thought it was very well done. So I'm hoping this will be a good reading experience as well. The next book on the list is Family and Borghesia by Natalia Ginzburg. If you've seen some of my other videos, you probably know that I discovered Natalia Ginzburg a couple of years ago, and I'm a huge fan of hers now. And when I went to Dump Books in London, I purchased these lovely editions with the colorful edges. So this is one from this set. The other one that I had bought was The Dry Heart, which made my list of top 10 favorite books last year. And so this is going to be my next one by Natalia Ginzburg. And I love how she describes summer in Italy and how people walk around and go for ice cream. So Natalia Ginzburg, if you don't know her, she has sort of this very unique writing style where she will reveal some really heartbreaking truths about relationships between people, but somehow she's able to tell it in a tone that sounds matter of fact. And it's kind of weird, but it's really her signature style and it works really well. She will break your heart, but somehow you don't see it coming. So hopefully I like this one. The next book on our list is Katalin Street by Magda Szabo. I had been saving this one because apparently the story begins in summer. This is going to be, I believe, my 4th book by Magda Szabo. I'm just fascinated by her style, and each book that I've read has been completely different. I've read The Door, I've read Abigail, and Issa's Ballad. So this one is apparently the story of three families who live close to each other in Budapest, and their destinies are intertwined. I'm not sure if during the course of the book the Second World War breaks out or not, but I'd rather go in blind and just see what happens. But I trust Magda Zabol because she's an excellent writer. Then the next one on our list is The Known World by Edward P. Jones. This is an author that I discovered when I read his short story collection called Lost in the City. And usually when you read a short story collection, you'll see that you connect to some of the stories, but there's a couple that you don't really care for. But I actually was amazed because I loved every single story. And these are stories of people in the African American community in Washington, D.C. Highly recommend that collection. But this one is a book that won the Pulitzer Prize. It's the story of a former slave. It takes place in Virginia, and it starts off in the month of July. So I think this will be a good summer read. I'm really looking forward to kind of letting the book take me on this long journey and really sinking into that story. I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit like my experience with East of Eden, which I thought was also a good summer read. So we'll see. I also recently made a video called The Best Books of the 20th Century. And at this point, I'm looking for books of the 21st century that I could include in my video about the best books of the 21st century. And this one could be a contender because it was published in 2003. So we'll see. We'll see how I like this one. The Known World by Edward P. Jones. And the final book on our list is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I've seen this book recommended so many places. I feel like, okay, it's time for me to read it. It's been on my TBR for a while. And this book starts out in the summer, so I think it'll be a good summer read. According to the blurb, it's about a woman who is in search of her authentic self and in search of real love. So we'll see if I end up liking this one, but this is definitely a classic. Okay, guys, so that's my summer list. And I'm going to have all these books linked in the description so you can purchase them on either Amazon or bookshop.org. Please let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books and which ones you would recommend and what you guys are planning to read this summer. Have a great summer, everyone. Until next time, happy reading!